guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome the fuck back to my channel, okay? So I know it's been a while. It actually hasn't been that long. It's actually been 4 days. And if you're wondering, damn bitch, you look ghostly, it is because I'm doing my makeup. I was gonna do my makeup first and then come on camera and tell the story, but then I was like, why don't I just do my makeup as I tell the story? I think that would be better anyway. So we're gonna be doing my makeup today as I tell you guys this spooky story. This story was submitted to me a while back, and I never got to tell it because it's so long. And again, if I'm gonna tell like the longer stories, like then I really feel like I have to, you know, do the stories justice. You know what I mean? So the person who submitted the story, we're gonna call the person now. Okay, before we even go on, I do want to give y'all a little bit of like, you know, what the story would be about. Sometimes I will say this. Sometimes, damn, give me a second, guys. Today's story, remember to be careful who it is that you hand out your kindness to, because it might just come back to bite you in the ass. If you say anything about my clothes in the back, you're anti-black. But yes, this story was submitted to me a while ago, and I want to talk about it. And before we get into this dramatic betrayal story, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel. If this is your first time seeing my face, please make sure you subscribe to my page, subscribe to my channel. We talk all things spooky, spirituality, and even sometimes I just give my opinion on things, you know? So if you are fucking with me, make sure you are following me on every single platform. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. I am so close to 10K. I'm literally only 1,000 people away, and I know that I have a lot of faith that you guys can get me there. So please make sure you guys are following me on Instagram, just so that I know that it's real. And you know, don't worry about TikTok. I guess I'll just carry TikTok on my back. But please make sure you are sharing my content right here on YouTube. Share it to your mommy, your auntie, your friends, your cousins. Everybody needs to see my content because I am trying to make it out the hood and entertain each and every single last one of y'all. If you guys have a video idea that you guys want to see, please feel free to leave it down in the comments. My interactions lately have been a little bit low on YouTube. So if you guys want to do your girl a favor by just leaving a comment, that seriously will boost my video a lot. And please watch it all the way through, because please don't fuck up my watch time, my watch hours. Straight into this story time. So we're gonna call the person who submitted the story Marianne. And Marianne, she says, like, you know, this is what she gets for trusting the wrong people. But at the same time, she's like, well, how could she have known? So basically, Marianne met this girl at the time. So she says, like, you know, her entire family, you know, they be doing, you know, the dark and mysterious voodoo stuff. So like voodoo is nothing new to her. And she said, plus besides that, before moving to Tennessee, she used to live down in New Orleans. And so to her, voodoo and the dark and mysterious stuff and the hauntings was never anything new to her. So she wanted to preface the story by saying this. However, it's never anything that, you know, she never tried to use voodoo or hoodoo, whatever the case may be, to harm anybody, because that was never her prerogative. Now, she says, what did we say we were going to call this girl? Okay, we're going to call the person who submitted the story Miriam. So Marianne says that she met this girl in college, and now she had been cool with this girl since college. And at this point, like, they're in their mid-20s, so like 27, 28, and they were the same age. So Marianne one day gets a phone call from her friend. We're going to call her friend Caroline. So Caroline calls Marianne one day, and Caroline is like, yo, Marianne, like, I'm going through a really, really tough, like, time in my life right now, and I basically need a place to stay. But don't worry, like, you know, as I'm staying with you, like, I will be helping you with things around the house. And so I won't, like, you know, I'll be sure to be like a worthy, or I guess like somebody of worth, like a worthy housemate type of thing. Like, you know, like I'll help you around the house. I'll help you wash dishes. Like I'll help you with the chores and shit like that. But like, she just really needed help, you know, getting back on her foot. And Miriam, being the friend that she was like, you know what, girl, like, I've known you since college. Like, obviously, I'm not going to let you be homeless. Blah, blah, blah. Obviously, you can move in with us. At the time, Miriam said that she was living with her man. And her man had been together for 5 years. So, you know, she had a pretty decent relationship with him. Like, it was never a problem, you know, never had an issue, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, she told her man that, you know, her friend needed help, blah, 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 and that her friend was going to move in. Now, her man was very hesitant. And she said, now in hindsight, let me not tell the story this way. Now, she says that her man was very, very hesitant about, you know, her friend moving in, but that was only based on the fact that their apartment was small. Like, they were staying somewhere, it was a 1-bedroom apartment, and to her man, it wasn't enough space to have her. So in the apartment at the time was her man, her dog, her cat, and, you know, sometimes, like, occasionally, like, they would have friends over. And her man didn't think, like, damn, like, you know, we barely have enough space for our friends. I don't know if we will have space for somebody else to, like, you know, fully move in. But Miriam is like, yo, I'm not about to leave my homegirl out be in the streets. So, like, regardless, like, Miriam said that she was always going to make room for her friend. And before I go on, I also want to premise this video by saying that I am not a fucking makeup artist, okay? So, you know, be kind. So Caroline decides, okay, well, she needs a place to stay. She asks Miriam. Miriam agrees. So she moves in with Miriam. The first couple of weeks that they were living together, Miriam said that she had no complaints. Great. Miriam said that she had no complaints. Like, things were going really well. And as Caroline promised, like, she was helping around the house. She was helping with chores. She was helping, you know, whenever Miriam needed help with anything. When it came down to, like, you know, grocery shopping and shit, like, she would come and meet Miriam out in the front, help her put groceries back in the fridge. Now, Miriam did say that she didn't expect much from Caroline because she knew that Caroline didn't have a job. Like, at the time, Caroline was trying to get back on her feet. So, you know, a lot of the time, like, Caroline would stay in the house. Now, Miriam said that she, at the time, applied for a flight attendant. I don't know why I keep calling her a hostess, but I mean flight attendant. An air waitress. I'm so sorry. Things had just came through for her, and basically she had gotten the job. So the job that she had at the time, being a hostess, would have paid her more, and obviously it's a cooler job with more opportunities, so she decided to go with the hostess job. So, which would also mean that she would be flying away and, you know, leaving her house for, like, days at a time. Now, she says when she started the job, like, it was a lot more hectic than what she could have even, like, anticipated. She said the traveling became, like, you know, quite often. Like, I mean, that is her job, you know? And a lot of the traveling that she was doing in the beginning were, like, you know, really international. So she would go from, like, Tennessee to Miami, or, you know, New York, blah, blah, blah. But, like, they were all, like, they were international flights, right? So whole time she would leave Caroline in the house, and she would leave Caroline and her man in the house, and yeah. Now, she says that her and her man always had a really good relationship. Like, they had been together for 5 years. So, the type of girl who moves fast with anybody. She really is, like, she takes her time to get to know people before she lets them in. And so she knew that this man, we're going to call him Joshua. She knew that Joshua was the right man for her. And not only that, but Joshua, like, he was such a gentleman, you know, like, she said that she never had anybody treat her with this much kindness. And Joshua, being a countryman, he was very chivalrous, basically. And she said that was one of the things that really hooked her on to Joshua. So her and Joshua were dating for 5 years, and marriage was in the topic of conversation. And she started this, and pretty much she left the man in the house, and she says that her man was a trader. So, like, he would, like, trade and shit like that. So he really didn't have to, like, leave the house to, like, work. So her man would, like, work from home. But also her man was very social, and he was known around Tennessee. So, like, every day around work, after work, like, he would go to the bar, blah, 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 and, you know, go hang out with his friends. So one day for Valentine's Day was approaching. And, you know, she was working. So she was like, yo, she want to basically, like, stop home one day and, like, you know, surprise her man. Now, the thing is that she would work 3 days out the week, and then for at least 2 days out the week, like, she would be home. And she says now when she would be home, like, it would be no problem. Now, her friend Carolina was staying in, like, the extra bedroom, and her friend was pretty quiet, you know? her friend helped her around a lot. And, you know, obviously now that she's a lot more busy, she doesn't have time to, like, you know, cook and, like, you know, keep up with, like, her house chores. And thank God Carolina's around to, like, you know, help her keep up with all of these things. And she was helping her keep up, like, you know, like, doing really well. So she didn't think anything of it. Boom, Valentine's Day is coming up, and she goes to work, and she decides, usually she comes home like towards the end of the week. So her work schedule, she would be away from like Sunday till about Wednesday, but then from Thursday until Saturday, like she would be home. So Valentine's Day was coming up, and it was, so she decided that she was gonna surprise her man for Valentine's Day. So she was supposed to be traveling, or at least, you know, her man and everybody else thought like, yeah, you know, she's supposed to be traveling right now. But she decided to come home early and surprise him, and yeah. So that day, she gets off work early, and she goes home, and to her surprise, she finds Caroline and her man messing around together. Now, she says, now, this really caught her at a surprise, because at that point, Caroline had been living with them for like a month and a half. So it hadn't been that long. So she's wondering, damn, when did all of this happen? Now, mind you, it was just like all weirdly a coinkydink that like around the time that Caroline moved in was around the same time that, you know, she got the job, whatever, and she was, you know, leaning into her job. So fast forward to this long, she walks in the house and she sees that Caroline is messing with her man. So she's like, what the fuck? So she jumps on Caroline, and those two, like, you know, they get into it physically. So she's like, yo, what the fuck? Like, how the fuck could you have betrayed me like this? Blah, blah, blah. I was trying to help you out in the time that you really needed help. All of this. So Caroline basically tells her, like, you know, your man was coming on to me. Pretty much like she's down so bad, like she's been so lonely that pretty much she fell into temptation and fell into his penis. And Caroline and Miriam, you know, she was like, you know, as much of an understanding and forgiving person that she is, she knew that she wouldn't be able to forgive Caroline over this one. So she asked Caroline, you know, kindly to pack her things and move out, because she knew, like, again, this is not one of those things that she's gonna be able to let go of. So she says after they got, you know, physical, whatever, she decided to ask Caroline to leave. And Caroline agreed. And now with her man, she said she was gonna just have to deal with her man. So on the side, you know, she had conversations with her man and pretty much asked her man, like, yo, why the fuck would you do this to me? Why would you betray me like this? And basically her man was like, well, I'm like, you know, Caroline was the one who was coming on to me. And pretty much she was at work, busy working every day. And, you know, I'm still trying to readjust to you and this new work schedule that you got going on. And basically he fell into the temptation and fell right into the coochie too, and now he's sorry. So she's like, okay, fine, you know. But the thing that she decides that she's gonna do is to keep, you know, cut off Caroline. Like at this point, she doesn't want Caroline near her man, near her relationship, nothing. She's just gonna cut Caroline off. So she does that. So she cuts Caroline off and keeps working her job. Now, if you're wondering, damn, like, we're 13 minutes in, bitch, where is the dark and mysterious, like, aspect of this story? I have to break down the whole story to you. So she basically, like, decides that her friendship with Marianne is not gonna, her friendship with Caroline is not gonna work out anymore, because Caroline is a snake, and yeah, she's gonna cut her off. So she cuts off Caroline and goes back to work like regular, like minding her business, goes back to work. And she says during this time, because it was like 5 whole years with this man, she said she knew she wasn't gonna be willing to throw away that 5-year relationship with that man and all the plans that they had came up with. So she said that they was gonna work it out. So, but she still had her waitress job. I don't know why I keep calling this girl a waitress. She still had a hostess job, you know, as a, okay, you know, she's still gonna work on her relationship, like on the weekend. So trying to bring life back, trying to bring romance back into her relationship, you know? So like whenever she comes back on the weekends, like, you know, doing more things with her man, like doing more engaging things, like taking things down to the basics, like going on more dates, like, you know, things like that to try to keep her man involved and engaged in the relationship. So like Miriam said that she never cared about no man like she cared about that man. And Joshua, we decided to call him, she never cared about no man like she cared about Joshua. Like she had been with Joshua, like I said, for the past 5 years. So she was definitely gonna work it out. And Joshua himself, he was very remorseful after, you know, screwing Caroline. So he too wanted to work out the relationship. So she's like, okay, well, he want to work it out. They're working it out. Every weekend after work, you know, she's coming home to, you know, be with her man, work on her relationship with her man. She says for a while, everything was going great. Like, it seemed like her life was, you know, going back to normal. She's adjusting to working this job. Her man is fully adjusted, and now, you know, they're back together. One day she comes home and they're like sleeping on the bed, and she starts to notice that her man is getting a little bit distant. So she's like, yo, like, what is going on? Like, they had been working on their relationship, and at that point, it had been like a good 3 months since Caroline been gone. So when she noticed that her man is acting different, she starts to feel nervous again because she had gotten cheated on before. So she decided to go through his phone to see what's up. Now, let me know in the comments if you're one of those girls who go through phones. But she was like, she gonna go through that man's phone to see what's up. So while the man was sleeping, which by the way, you always have to wait the right time to check a man's phone. Don't be too eager. You gotta wait till he sleep. So she waited till he was asleep, went through his phone, and Lord and behold, who she found? She found text messages between Caroline and her man. Now she's like, yo, what the fuck? And those text messages between Caroline and her man wasn't giving friendly. Those text messages was given very much so like, I will take your man. Like those text messages wasn't giving a mistake. Those text messages were giving very much so like, yeah. And then she's like scrolling and she's seeing nudes between them two being exchanged. And at this point, Carol like, what the hell? At this point, this is like betrayal on both sides. Not only betrayal from her man, but betrayal from her friend. Now, again, she knew Caroline since college. So it's like, yo, Caroline, like, what are you doing to me right now? And mind you, she done cut this girl off. So she thinking that her man had done the same, considering her man was the one who fucked up and cheated. So she says she woke up her man at his sleep, and beat the fuck out of him, confronted him, and told him, like, yo, I'm so dead ass. Like, I told you to leave Caroline alone. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And her man is pretty much like, yo, I'm so sorry. Like, again, like, I'm so sorry I cheated. But again, like, the thing with you working and you being away, like, I just keep, you know, getting bored without you here, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, he won't do it again next time he gets lonely. He'll just stick to himself. So she's like, okay, you know, she decided to take her man back. So she's like, it's fine, whatever. She confronted Caroline about it. She texted Caroline on his phone and told Caroline on her man's phone to stop texting her man. Caroline replied, and Caroline was basically like, oh shit, like, you know, pretty much like, your man keep coming on to me, you know, that's not your man. But, you know, she says she's a working grown woman, so she went about her day, went about her business. Her man promised her that, you know, he wouldn't cheat again. So fast forward a couple months later, she comes back, and this time when she comes back home, she found who in her house. Now, this part of the story, I was like, nah. If there's one thing that is on sale, it's actually audacity. She comes back home and she finds Caroline and her man again, like the first time. She says, now at this point, this is when she lost her marbles, you know? Like her and Caroline, they really get into it again. And at this point, she's really starting to feel like this girl really has it out for her. Like she's known her since college. This is her second time catching her with her man, physically. She asked her to leave her man alone before. So now at this point, it's all just feeling very personal. And Miriam is feeling like, damn, like I'm really about to lose my man to Caroline. So Miriam said that this is when she did something that she isn't proud of, like that she wouldn't normally do. She decided to do a love spell on her man. And she said the first time she did the love spell on him, everything was going good. Everything was going really, really well. She did the love spell, and she says the man just kind of turned different. If he couldn't be sweeter, he was. Like, he became the perfect man, very attentive, like, even to the point where she was at work and shit like that. Like, the man was leaving her text messages, calls, FaceTime responses, messages and shit like that, like when she wouldn't pick up. She was like, this man was like the ideal man. He was obsessed. So she says the one thing that she didn't know was like she had to keep up with the love spells. You know what I mean? Like she said, like she kind of thought like you do it once and like one and done type of thing. Like, you know, my man is good. He's healed. He's fixed. Like, why would she need to keep going? So she was like, yeah, considering the man is acting nice, the man is being kind, like why would she keep going? So she came back home one day and she saw that, you know, he was still being kind of like really flirty with other women. And she was like, that was always like the one thing that always made her uncomfortable. And she sat down with him and she said, you know what, like, let's just be honest, like, be honest with me. Like, what is it? Because for 5 years that we were together, like, we never had these issues. So let me know, what is it that I'm doing wrong? Like, you are the perfect man. I don't want to lose you. So please let me know what it is that you need from me. And I will give that to you to save this relationship. Her man basically tells her that her working so often is really putting a strain on their relationship. And it's starting to feel like a long distance relationship. And her man before her was in a long distance relationship. And, you know, she knew how he felt about that. So she was like, damn, like, you know, obviously, like, that was the last thing that she wanted to do, was put her man in a position where, you know, he was in a long distance and he was losing, you know, connection with her, blah, blah, blah. So, pretty much, she was like, Miriam said that she knew what she had to do. Miriam said that she knew she had to leave the job, and even though, you know, the job was, you know, paying the bills, and her man was also, you know, paying the bills as well, she's like, she has to leave her job. She has to leave her job to now focus on her relationship. Which, ladies, come on. But she says now she knew that she knew what she had to do. It was very clear to her that she had to leave her job to focus on her relationship. And she said that was no problem for her because she loved that man. She loved her man. Like, she was going to leave the job. Like, that was always a no-brainer for her. So, damn, I'm really trying to figure out this contour situation. But, yeah, she said she was always going to leave the job. Like, that was a no-brainer for her, at least when it came to her man. Like, she says her and her man been through a lot of, like, tough times together that a lot of people wouldn't understand. So she left the job and now she is living at home with her man. And again, she still hasn't, like, you know, reinstated like the love spell or anything. And, you know, obviously at this point, now that she starts living at home again, she says it's a different dynamic with the man. Like, he just seems like, you know, he's really working on this relationship. Like, he's really working on fixing this relationship to the point that they start talking about marriage, to the point where they start talking about, you know, putting a ring on the finger, and to the point where he's just like, you know what, like, he makes enough money and that she doesn't have to work and that she could just, you know, stay at home and that they could be together. And she says, like, quitting the job felt like at the time like the best decision that she could have made, because it just seems like she's getting her man back. Like, this is exactly what she wanted. Like, and she was ready to start a family. So, like, yeah. So a couple months went by. She says everything was cool. She was checking his phone like occasionally, but she wasn't finding anything. And so eventually she let her guard down, which, ladies, never let your guard down with no man, especially a man that done cheated on you before. But she says eventually she let her guard down, and yes, he did exactly what he said he was going to do, and he proposed to her. He got on that knee and he popped the question. And he's like, a beautiful thing, you know, like, he said that he wanted to keep it private. He didn't even want her to post about it, whatever, because he just really, like, he's always been like a very, like, private, on the low type of guy. So, you know, she kept her engagement on the low, but, you know, she was engaged. And, you know, a month after her engagement, you know, she found out that she was pregnant, whatever. So she's like, yo, like, when I tell y'all, perfect timing for everything. Like, she got the man, you know, like, everybody goes through shit with their man. Like, this is like, you know, her struggle story, like, whatever. Like, she's stuck with him. She's gonna be a stay-at-home mom. The man loves her. He, you know, he made mistakes, but, you know, he's learned from his mistakes, whatever. So she finds out she's pregnant. She's a stay-at-home pregnant mom. And, you know, at this point, that's when he's like, yo, babe, like, I'm thinking about going to work in an office, like, in an office, basically, instead of, like, you know, him working from home it might be better, and it might present as more of like a financial opportunity for him to work, you know, from the office. So then she was like, you know, she's not really thinking anything of it. So she's like, yeah, sure, like, you know, that, you know, go work from the office. Whatever. While I'm over here cooking up a baby in my tummy for you. So the man now is working from, you know, his office or whatnot. And at this point, like I said, like she completely forgot about the love spell. Now, fast forward, she says like 5 months into her pregnancy, this is when she really started to realize like, oh my God, there's a problem. The problem was that this man was extremely distant. Like this man just became very, very, very distant from her. So she's like wondering like, what's tea? Like what's going on? Like why is this man setting powder, invisible, blocking powder? Okay. So she's like, she's noticing like a switch in her man. She's like, yo, like, again, like, what is going on? At this point, I got a ring on my finger and I'm pregnant, and you kind of low-key giving me like, you know, the cold shoulder. So, you know, obviously her mind goes back to the cheating thing. So she's like, okay, well, you know, obviously like he might be cheating again. So then this is when she decided, okay, another love spell is gonna have to do, because obviously at this point she's down, she's pregnant. They've gone through so much together, like this, she can't keep going through this. So she went back to the original Obia person and told them like, yo, like my man is back on that bullshit. I need you to put another love spell on him. The Obia person did warn her. They said, you know, you were supposed to pretty much like come back and renew the first one, but now you're talking about doing something completely different. And, you know, that might agitate the man. Now she says she knows her man. Do what you gotta do. So she put a second love spell on that man. And she said, now the second love spell, everything was even sweeter than the first time. But little did she know that she just made the biggest mistake of her life, because something about that second love spell, she thinks till this day is what changed the man. So she says that second love spell kind of worked almost instantly. Now, the voodoo person had asked for something that was, you know, belonging to him. So she bought like his t-shirt and shit like that. And then she also fed him, you know what, you know, her, you know what. So she was like, yeah, you know, like it's good. She said her man is obsessed with her. At this point, the man don't even want to work in the office no more. The man want to come home. It's like the man want to sit there and watch her grow the baby from scratch himself. Like he is completely a change. He is completely anew. So now the man starts staying at home. A couple of months later, now at this point, it's time for her to like, you know, start giving birth. Like it's time for her to start preparing, you know, to give birth to her child and shit like that. And then this is when she says like, it's like the second she gave birth to her son, the man changed completely. Like the sweetness went out the window. Like the man just became abusive. She says she saw a new version of that man that she had never witnessed before. And at that point, it's like 6.5 going on 7 years into their relationship. And up until that point, that man never put his hands on her before. That man never, you know, showed any signs of like violence against her before. But damn, the man started. She says it's like he was waiting for her to drop the baby, because instantly the man started putting his hands on her. Like he was beating her ass, like, okay? And she says like it was so bad because she was also suffering from like postpartum and shit like that. Like she had literally just given birth to this man's child, and here this man go abusing her. So she's like, now on top of that, this man started like cheating on her and like straight up not giving a fuck. So like he don't care. She would go through his phone. She would wake him up, confront him about it, and he would just be like, yeah, I did that. Like pretty much, yeah, I did do that. Like, yeah, and now what? Like, you know, kind of thing. So she was like, damn, like, you know, she really felt like right after she gave birth, she really lost him. And she said at this point, like Caroline became like a thing in the past. Now at this point, this is just like, the issue is her man is a whore. Because Caroline is really not like a focal point in their relationship anymore, if that's making sense. So she's like, yeah, well, this man just, you know, he has issues. Like, he just likes to cheat type shit. So, she kept, you know, she's a stay-at-home mom. She's taking care of her kid. And, you know, at this point, this is when, you know, he starts acting funny. And she's like, there's nothing that she can really do at this point, because she has a son to raise. And she's just going to focus on that. And she says when her son turned about 2 months old, her son gets really sick. So when her son gets so sick, she's like, you know, she's like worried, like she's worried sick. Her man don't care. She's like, it is like, she had never seen this level of like carelessness from her man before. Like, her son is like badly sick. They're going in and out of the hospital. Nobody can figure out what the fuck is wrong with her son. And pretty much like her man is just like, he doesn't care. Like, the man wouldn't even come to the son's like hospital visits, nothing. Like, he just straight up like did not care. So eventually she goes to her mom, and her mom saw her son, and her mom was like, yo, this is something else going on with this son entirely. Like, I don't think the doctors are meant to get to the bottom of this. Like, I genuinely think like there's something else, something more sinister at play about your son right now. So she's like, Mom, like, what are you talking about? Her mom took her son to a Obia person, and the Obia person did determine like, yo, somebody is trying to, you know, harm your son. And she says she didn't listen, because she genuinely didn't believe that. Like, who would be the one to try to like take out her son, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, the person told her like, you know, there's another person in the picture who is, you know, working voodoo on you, who is doing work on you. Caroline's like, okay. And she says, like, unfortunately, it is all affecting, like, your poor son. Because whatever it is that she's doing, she is sending it straight to your son. So she's just like, I don't understand anybody who would be doing this. But anyway, she went back home and told her man. She was like, yo, crazy story. Like, I saw an Obia lady today, and he told me that there's somebody else in the picture that is trying to unalive my son. And she says that her man's reaction, again, was that of carelessness. She says, again, she's just trying to work with the Sangoma, trying to figure out a way, trying to work with the witch person, trying to figure out a way to heal her son. Her mom said that she wanted to keep the son because she didn't think that the house was like the safest place for her son to be, for her grandson to be. So her mom took the son, and she was taking care of the son, trying to figure out what's going on. 3 months later, her son got better, and her son made like, it was like weird because her son made like an overnight recovery. And she said she was ready to go and pick up her son, but her mother was like, no, like, your son literally just got back good. I'm not giving you the son. Like, I'm not giving you my grandson. Let me just stay with him. Let him turn like, you know, a year, and then, you know, maybe you could have him back like around a year, you know, get your shit together, figure out what it is that you're going to do with this man. And then, you know, figure it out. Because the mom was like, I'm sure it's the, you know, it's the side chick, whatever. So she decided that, you know, she was going to stay and work things out with her man. But at this point, her son is better. So she wants her son back, and she wants to be back under the same room with her boyfriend. So she decided to do another love spell on him. She said the third one was the last one. And yeah, she said she decided to do a love spell on him. She said she did blood work on the man, went back to another witch doctor, and decided that she's gonna do one that's even stronger than the first and the second one. And she was warned not to do it, but she said that she wants her man. And yeah, so her and her man, you know, they're working it out again. And she's asking her mom for to get her son back. And her mom is like, no, because I don't trust your man, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, she's asking her man, like, who is the other person in the picture? And her man is telling her there is no other person in the picture. So at this point, her man is back to being kind. Her man is back to being sweet. But this time, her man is like zombified. Like, the man is like a freaking zombie. Even down to them like planning their wedding and shit like that. Like, he just wasn't invested. He just kind of went along with whatever it is that she wanted. And he just kind of became a yes man. She says, you know what? I'll take him anyway. Better this than nothing. So she says, as they were getting ready, as they were gearing up to get married and make things official, she got really, really, really sick out of nowhere. And she is so sick that every day she's waking up either throwing up blood, throwing up acid. She said one day she got like her period, and her period lasted like over a year. Like her period just wouldn't go away. Like just things would just kept happening to her. And you know, obviously now at this point she's getting sicker and sicker, and her mom doesn't just not, her mom definitely don't feel good about giving her back her son. So then this is when she decided to take the warning seriously. She goes back to a witch doctor, and she asks the witch doctor if anybody is, you know, working obia on her or doing anything to her. And this is when the witch doctor says, like, yes, there is somebody else in the picture, like you were warned, that is doing this to you. At first they were coming after your son, but your son had gotten a new level of protection around him. And so unfortunately she wasn't able to get to your son. So then I guess everything just fell back on you. So yeah, she was trying to get rid of your son, and now she is trying to get rid of you. So then that's when it all came rushing back. Yo, it has to be Caroline. Like, Caroline has to be the one who's doing this. Caroline has to be back in the picture. And my man has to be lying to me about Caroline being back in the picture. So then she goes back home. Sorry, y'all. It is so hot. She goes back home, confronts her man. And her man is pretty much like, bitch, just starts losing weight. Like, she is losing weight at like such a fast pace. Like, and it is happening like it's almost like she's getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner every single day. Even doctors at this point cannot tell her what's wrong with her. She cannot have her son. And in this moment, her man turns violent. Her man is turning on her. She says that her man looks like he only has two emotions, and that is contentment and anger. Whenever they're not content together, he hates her, and he's like throwing things at her, hitting her. She says one day, like, she was asleep, the man came into the room and even tried to strangle her to death. And so she was like, yeah, like, you know, she's starting to really feel like this man hates her. And there's nothing that she can do about it. She's battered. She's going to the hospital every other day because of a bruise that this man is giving her, or because of the fact that she is obviously sick. Her mom is worried about her. She doesn't want to leave this man. She feels totally binded to him. And he's not leaving her alone either, because at this point, like, they just, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he's still working his job. And at this point, she's like, she doesn't know what is becoming of herself. But she decided that enough is enough, that she was going to figure out what was wrong with her and get it together. The Sangoma says that the only way that you are going to save yourself from this situation is if you leave that man alone completely, because that is what the other party wants you to do. Now, she's really petty, even though she didn't want to leave that man. At this point, she's understanding that there's a bigger picture here. So she's like, okay, she decides to move back in with her mom and leave the man. So when she left the man would literally go back to her mother's house every day, either throw rocks at the mother's house, threaten to kill her, or cry, say that he wants to get back together. Like, but every day it was something. It was either abuse, threats, or something from that man, because he was mad that she had gone back to his mother's house. She had gone back to her mother's house. So whole time, she decided to go to someone even more powerful. Sorry, y'all, I need to stand up. The person tells her, like, pretty much the Obia lady tells her, like, you have to leave, like, that situation altogether in order for you to find any sort of healing in this situation, because it seems like the person who's after you is, like, they're pretty ruthless. Like, they won't let up. Like, they came after your son, and now they're after you. Like, what is it gonna take for you to, like, you know, actually choose yourself in this scenario? So she said that she did something that she never thought that she would do, which was choosing herself. And I said, purr, bitch. She said she chose herself in that situation and decided to walk away from the man. Now, the man just kept stalking her for a long time. And she says, like, this isn't like your typical, like, oh my God, my ex is, like, you know, stalking me a little bit. She said, no, like, she actually became terrified of this man. Like, this man was, like, standing outside her house. If it wasn't for him begging to get back together, he was, like, threatening her. Like, he would stalk her, like, if she needed to leave the house to, like, you know, go get something done, to go drop off mail, pick something up, go to the grocery store, like, he would be right there following her. Like, he had also attacked her while she was outside. She said she went to the police about this man, and the police, like, they don't care about that type of situation, apparently. And, like, it was very clear, like, the man wasn't gonna leave her alone. And now she said her health did start getting better after she, you know, left him alone, whatever. But now at this point, she has something completely new to worry about. Her health is reinstating. Her son is fine. She's trying to, you know, get her life back in order. But now her man has become a raging stalker. So she goes back to the Obia person, and the Obia person is pretty much like, the best thing that you can do to get rid of like this love spell, well, it wouldn't really get rid of it, but it would help your situation a lot more, would be basically to transfer him to basically the other girl. So she was like, pretty much this whole time, and she knew that Caroline was the one who was behind, you know, her thingy this whole time. So, and she had stuff that belonged to Caroline from when Caroline lived in her house. So she went back to the Obia person, and she decided to return everything that had been done to her back to Caroline tenfold, including the man. I didn't know you could do this, but she said that she turned the man's attention back to Caroline. So now the man was able to leave her alone and go back and bring all that crazy energy over into Caroline. So she says for a while, she hadn't heard from the man. Like, he kind of pretty much just stopped showing up at her house. She says even though she still misses him and shit like that, she's choosing her well-being and her son over that toxic relationship and her health, because she says going in and out of the hospital was like one of the wildest and like scariest times, like that she's ever, one of the scariest things that she'd ever experienced. And she says when it comes to her health, like she's not fucking with that. So she says that she found a way to reverse the man's attention on her over to Caroline. She said all she had to do was bring some stuff over to the his stuff, and he did whatever he did, and the man was now stuck on Caroline. She said she hadn't heard anything from that man in a while. She pretty much, you know, moved on from him. And yeah, she said a year went by, you know, she's moving on, and one day she randomly went, you know, to his page to go, you know, stalk and see what's going on and shit like that. And she noticed that directly after that they had broken up, he actually did pop the question to Caroline. So him and Caroline were fiancéed. So him and Caroline are now together. Were then together. And then she says that seriously broke her heart so much. But at the same time, she says she's not fucking with her health over nothing. She says even though she felt like she lost her man to her friend, somebody who she was trying to help, she says, like, you know, at the end of the day, her health is more important. But she says that at the same time, she's not too concerned about it because she understands what Caroline has now. She says that Caroline doesn't have the same version of the man that she says, like, she doesn't know what's going on, you know, internally within Caroline and her man's relationship anymore. But yeah, she says like she doesn't know like the intimate details of what goes on in the relationship with her ex and Caroline anymore. But all she does know is that Caroline doesn't have the same version of a man that she had before. And recently, she said, as she had recently went on her page, she said till this day she still stalks to see when Caroline is gonna leave him or whatever. But she says like recently she went on her page and she noticed that Caroline's face looked a little fucked up. So she says if her calculations are correct, that man is actually putting all of his hands, all of his paws, all 10 of his fingers on Caroline. So she says, you know what? She dodged a bullet and let Caroline have him. And you know, the most interesting part of the story to me was the fact that she says that she is still stalking Caroline and she's waiting for Caroline to officially leave that man so she can get her man back. The only reason why she is not with that man right now, remember, is because she's not fucking with her health. She's not fucking about her health. And as long as Caroline is in the picture, she feels like that's a threat. Caroline's a threat to her health. She doesn't want her health threatened. So she says she will wait for Caroline to leave and get out the picture and get back in the picture. Because she says even though the man was, you know, crazy, she loved him. And now I'm wondering, like, did that man do a love spell on you, girl? Miriam, did that man do something to you? But pretty much, yeah, she says she sent everything tenfold back to Caroline. But, you know, obviously she's not around, so she didn't know whether Caroline got sick or not. She don't know if anything ever happened with Caroline. But she would stalk here and there, and she would see that Caroline and her man are still together. And the only thing that she saw recently was that her face was a little busted up, and that's all she knows. And that pretty much she's just gonna let Caroline have that man for now. And she says, if anybody is watching this story, she needs y'all to know, like, never give a bitch a chance. Don't let a bitch come live in your house when you have your man in your house, because that bitch will steal your man. Again, her lessons to y'all, not mine. Because that bitch will steal your man. And yeah, keep your head on a swivel and do not work a job that will turn your man's head. And this is what Miriam learned from that story. And now she is single, alone with this man's son that he does not come to see, with a new woman in the picture who she was just there to help in the first place. Anyway, okay, guys. All right, thank you guys so much for listening to this story. I thought this one was like a pretty interesting one, if you ask me. And Miriam, I hope I did your story some justice. And genuinely, I do hope that you leave that man alone, because that does sound like a side chick from hell, if you ask me. Yeah, it's giving me very much so like side chick from hell type of situation. So I would really just leave that man alone for good. And it's really given to me, it's really sounding like to me at least, that man did something to you, girl. Because why the fuck you can't let him go? But thank you guys for listening to this story. Thank you guys so much for watching this spooky story time. If this was entertaining to you, if you guys want to hear more long form entertaining stories like this, please feel free to let me know. Leave a comment letting me know. And let me know what you would have done in this scenario. If you would have done something different. Like, would you have left that man? Would you have stuck around? Because, I mean, I also understood why maybe she didn't want to leave right away, because that was 5 years, you know? Who want to throw away 5 years of a relationship to a side chick? I get that. But, you know, like, at some point, you know? Like, at some point. It gets to a point, guys. Thank you all so much for watching this video. All right, I want to thank you all so much for watching this video, especially all of y'all who made it all the way through. Please leave a comment down below letting me know that you made it all the way through the video. I love you guys so much, like I say at the end of every single video. And I have one more thing for you guys. Please, you guys, for the Caribbean Music Awards, I have literally been trying to go for the past 2 years. I have been manifesting going to the Caribbean Music Awards, and it would literally mean the world to me if you guys could vote for me. I will put the link down below, and I will put it also in the comment section below. Please, you guys, please, please, please vote for me. If you guys want to see me get out there, be bigger, you know, get on television, get out there, please, 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 I will have the link. Please vote for me. I would like my opportunity this year as an influencer to go to the Caribbean Music Awards, because I feel like I definitely belong there. Not only do I have a large Caribbean following, but I also do have a large African following as well. So guys, please, I will have the link down below. Please, please, please vote for your girl. Make sure that I'm the littest one up there. Make sure that they select your girl. I have faith in you guys, and I believe that you guys will get this done for me. So please make sure you vote for me. Like I say at the end, make sure also I have merch available. I am going to Lucia from July 11th to the 25th, so I probably won't be posting spooky stories then. So make sure you are keeping up with me between now and then. You are watching all my videos, and you are purchasing my merch, because this is all seriously going to help me. I also have my super chats available, so if you want to, send your girl a super chat. Like I say at the end of every single video, I love you, my dirty humans, from your favorite Asian homegirl. Make sure you subscribe. We are so close to 50K.